And we're live. Just kidding, you guys. I was going to do the countdown, but I wasn't paying enough attention when it started. So it's weird to have you see me go to a countdown and then come back again.
Gosh.
What do you think? Should I start the countdown now? We don't have any viewers yet. Okay, watch out. It hasn't started yet. Hold on. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Generally Irritable. It is a fine day, you guys, but I'll tell you what, we are thunderstorming up here in Central Texas. So if we have any trouble, I will let you know. Our lights flickered a little bit a minute ago. So just warning you, if we lose you, it's because there's a thunderstorm here, but hopefully it won't be a problem. All right, you guys, I'm really excited for our show today. We've got a fella. His name is Chris Debiec. He is a producer. He's been working in Hollywood and films for decades. I think he said 28 years. He's going to correct me when we come on. He might be mad at me for telling you how long he's been a producer. But we got to meet at an event, South by Southwest event last week. And he is just a fascinating individual. He has all of this behind the scenes knowledge. He has all this historical information, context, and more importantly, he's now here in Texas with us. He started the Texas Media Coalition. He's working on getting us tax credits. So when we talk on this show about the intersection between politics and culture, Chris is one of the folks who is helping produce the culture, right? He is one of the people who you may not even know that you have watched one of his shows before. So we're going to talk a little bit about his experience doing reality TV and how similar it is to watching the news these days. I think he said, what did he say, Benjamin? He said, I know reality TV when I see it. I know spin when I see it, or something like that. I love it.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about these kind of conversations is that a lot of times we end up in our own bubble. It's really easy to just be around the same people all of the time. Everybody agrees with you. You hear the same stories and it's all the same stuff. And I'm really excited on this channel that I've had more opportunities to talk to people who don't necessarily line up exactly completely politically, but they understand, just like we do, that we need to take care of ourselves, that we need to take care of our community, and we need to be responsible for building up and creating our own opportunities, because so often nowadays the people in charge, are more concerned about keeping their power, keeping their influence, saving face than they are about uplifting the team. And I could just tell that Chris really cares. He really cares about filmmakers. He really cares about creators. He really cares about making sure that there is a space where people can make money and be fulfilled. And I just loved that. I just saw that passion in him, and I really wanted to share it with you guys today. So we're going to be talking about his documentary. We're going to be talking about AI, and we're going to be talking about the politics of Hollywood. So and I'm so excited, you guys. We've got Benjamin Nathaniel Reddick II, Lord Violence himself from Austin Action Fest, joining us. Because he's our film guy. He's our film guy. So we're going to be having a really fun conversation. And without any further delay, Mr. Chris Debiec.
Hello.
Okay, so did I get it right? Was it 28 years you've been doing this?
35.
35. That is amazing. You don't even look old enough to have been working for 35 years.
Yeah, I started when I was 20. So,
I did see. Okay, so I Googled you, of course, because I was looking for a good headshot for the show, and I saw some pictures of you when you were younger. You look
oh
like a
yeah,
little baby.
that's what happens when you're younger. Yes.
So what has it been like? Share a little bit about what had you like, okay, so you've been doing this for a long time. So share a little bit about like your experience, like what you think about entertainment in general, and then what brought you to Texas?
Oh, that's a lot. We could do the entire 45 minutes on that, but sure. Well, first of all, I started the first job I ever had in the entertainment industry was the grand opening of Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida. So that was in
Ooh.
1990-ish. And it was fun. It was something I never experienced before. I didn't want to get in film and TV. I didn't go to film school. I didn't do any of that. I was actually a sous chef, but I
Oh,
liked
okay. Okay, you went from being a sous chef to being a producer. We're gonna have to
well,
we're gonna have to
there was a
share that.
many years between the both, but yes.
So when you worked at MGM, were you working as a chef or were you
No,
working?
no. In the entertainment industry, there's a position called craft service. That was the first job I had.
Right.
So I
Okay.
was a assistant to a craft service person, and then I just learned. I found different pathways. I did craft service for like a year and a half, and then I had an opportunity to work as a PA. Then I PA'd, but I PA'd in many, many different jobs. I mean,
Right.
I think I can't speak for anyone else, but I'm one of the few people in Hollywood that has actually worked in every position with a camera. I mean, I was a grip, I was camera, I was hell, I did hair and makeup on a show because the hair and makeup girls got sick. So, I was brushing hair and powdering a nose, and I was just like, you
I
know,
mean that hey, the job's got to get done,
yeah.
So what are you going
Well,
to
yeah,
do? Be cute
exactly. Yeah.
about it and
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
So so I've literally held every position you can. I mean, I did special effects. I was working on The Crow when Brandon Lee was killed. Um, yeah,
Wow.
that's a whole story. My job was very simple. I had a little sledgehammer, and the director Alex Proyas would yell action, and I would walk up and down hose lines because if you remember the first Crow, there was a lot of rain. It was rain. It was
Yeah.
at night. It was cold. It was
Yep.
kind of gross. So the only job I had in special effects was to walk up and down the hose lines and break the ice because we were shooting in North Carolina in February, and it was cold and freezing and rain, and so I'd smash the
Gross.
hose lines in order for to have rain. So that
Okay.
was what I did.
Okay, so side note, we're going to derail a little bit here. I'm just curious. When I saw that they were remaking The Crow, I had a feeling about it. Because Brandon Lee died on that set, there was something to me that feels like
Sacrilegious.
yeah, like they should not. I'm curious, given that you were actually on the set, do you have a feeling about it? Am I just being a weird emotional girl about it, or
Well, I mean, first of all, Hollywood is making money, and frankly, to be honest, Brandon would be a star right now if he would have if he'd be alive.
yeah.
It was a terrible accident. There wasn't a curse. There wasn't there were aliens didn't come down and try to and kill him. I mean, it was a terrible accident that culminated in several smaller incidences. Like
Oh no.
it started with a piece of the fake bullet that my department made broke off and got lodged in the barrel. Then the prop master didn't look down the barrel of the gun when he handed it to the actor. Then the actor pointed it at Brandon when he never should have pointed it at Brandon because there's no reason to point it at Brandon because the actor was off camera. So there's
Wow,
like
does this sound familiar?
it's just a domino effect of things that happen. So
That sounds a lot like the circumstance with uh Alec
Rust,
Baldwin. Yeah.
well, it may sound like that, but I think those two situations are absolutely very, very different.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because there was a live round in that gun.
Well,
what
right, but I mean,
I'm
like the
like,
failure, like the constant failure, and then pointing at somebody when you don't have to, and it's just
yeah.
like,
Again, when Rust came out, I got calls from various news organizations to ask me what my thoughts were on this, and I turned
yeah.
them all down because I'm like, what thoughts? Somebody fucked up. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Uh,
Don't worry about it.
so
You're good.
somebody screwed up. I mean, I
Yeah.
wasn't on set, so I can't tell you. With the Crow,
Well,
it was a different situation. I
yeah.
kind of seen all the steps and what happened, but with
Yeah.
this, no,
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything to it other than why is there a live round anywhere near that set,
It's
guys?
impressive.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty wild, especially Benjamin as a stunt man, fight coordinator, and you've been on sets
Mhm.
where you're handling guns, you're handling munitions, right? Was it Total Recall that you
Total
guys
rewind.
had? Total, sorry. I knew I was going to
Yeah.
do that. Total Rewind. You guys were like had cannons and stuff there, didn't you?
No, we had a 50 cal. We had a couple of different things, but
Okay.
very careful. The people I work with, I trust for this reason.
Mm,
And I mean, very rarely do we use blanks, and we've never fired blanks directly at a person.
yeah.
So,
And that's a lot of the projects you do with Matt Poitras
mhm.
here, or Darren, like those are heavy guns,
Yeah,
stunts. I'm just thinking about the one that you worked on, the cowboy one too. You guys had
last posse.
Glass
Yeah,
Posse. So you're working with these things a lot.
yeah,
Um, it's almost surprising that there isn't more accidents. Maybe that's a testament to how good the stunt people are and how good the prop people are.
yeah. The people we work with are heavy into action and do this all the time. So
Yeah.
it's it's just not that kind of a. We
There
don't have those
shouldn't
kind of
be any
issues.
accidents. There shouldn't be any because there's no cause for it.
Well, and what is it? I mean, you've got the point is that you have redundancies and processes and procedures to avoid these things, right?
Correct. Yeah,
And
you should
in theory.
in
Okay,
theory.
so getting back to my original, so getting back since I derailed us, how did we get so lucky to have you grace Texas with your presence? What brought you to Texas?
So I spent 6 years producing for James Cameron. I produced his underwater documentaries: Aliens of the Deep, Ghosts of
Mm,
the Abyss, Expedition Bismarck, and Last Mysteries of Titanic. And that was
ooh.
from the year 2000 to 2006. So I became friends with the family. John Cameron is Jim's baby brother. He was one of my best friends.
Mm,
So throughout the years, I've had other jobs. I spent 6 years as the vice president of production for E1 Entertainment One Television, which just
mm-hmm,
got purchased by Lionsgate. But because I spent so much time with the Cameron family and Jim and John, they bring you in and out all the time. It's like kind of being in the mob. Just like when you thought you were
mm.
out, they bring you back in again. So with so with the advent of the pandemic 2020,
Yeah.
the show I was working on shut down like everybody else did. John calls me up and a couple of months later, like in April or April May, and says, "Hey, I need your help with Jim to go get Avatar 2: Way of the Water up and running. We need to go find
Mm,
PPE and booties and all that stuff." So
mm. Yeah, and
John and
especially
I,
with all your experience doing
yeah.
the underwater stuff, and
Mm.
So John and I live close to each other. So I drove up to his house off Laurel Canyon, and we talked about it. And he also ran something called the Human Health Organization, which was a vaping.
mm,
He wanted to try to quit smoking, so he created some new vaping devices. And
mm.
he had some companies in China. That's where they manufacture that stuff.
Yep.
So we got him on the hook, and they made PPE, masks, booties, all that stuff for Jim and
Oh,
Avatar 2. So because of the work that John and I did, Avatar 2: Way of the Water was one of the first films to be shooting during the pandemic. So John thought it would be
Mm,
a great idea to do a testing company. So we did rapid testing
mm.
and PCR testing for all of the Hollywood.
Oh, so basically, it's like we recognize this need that we're going to have to address for ourselves in our own projects.
Sure.
Let's just create a
Let's
business out
just
of it.
do a business. So,
Yeah.
Jim and John had, they have elderly parents. Their parents were both in their 90s at the
Mm.
time, and they had many doctors. So we just reached out to each of the doctors that helped the parents, and they signed up. So we started purchasing rapid tests, and we got a nursing company called NurseCore, who's an international nursing company for labor. And John and Jim both said to me, do not advertise. Chris, you know everybody. Just call a couple of your friends, see what they want to do. I said, okay. So I have a buddy that was shooting a show over at Netflix. Netflix was our first client. They bought like,
Oh, cool.
60 grand worth of tests. And we wrote up the whole protocols for them, which by the way, Netflix stole later because, our protocols were what they ended up, the unions ended up taking, which is fine.
Mm.
And then the second client I had was Lionsgate, ironically enough, because I have a relationship with Kevin Beggs, who's the chairman of Lionsgate Television. And without giving you a number, let's put it this way: Lionsgate, all of their movies, all of their TV series, everything that Lionsgate has, we were now testing. So you can imagine that was a lot of
Massive.
tests,
Yeah.
massive order. But we were able to keep that going. Once that happened, then all the unions put my name, my phone number, my email address, and a human health organization on we were the only 3 approved vendors to do testing. So
Oh,
I couldn't
wow.
pick up my phone. So we did, during the pandemic, it was the busy, out of 35 years in entertainment, the pandemic was the busiest time I ever had. I couldn't, 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, just going set to set to set, calling this, calling that, ordering this, ordering that, make sure this happened, make sure that happened. Oh my God, we have a problem here. Go do that. Go do this. Go do that. It was great, but it was just a lot of work. So John was working 17 hours a day, smoking cigarettes, drinking Mountain Dew. He was an ex-Marine, so he lived life hard.
Got it.
So October 25th, 2020, John died of a heart attack. My CEO, my best friend, Jim's baby brother passed, he died in his house of a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I took over the interim CEO position. Jim wanted me to shut down the company immediately. And I said, Jim, we're doing $1 million a month and we have 200 clients a month.
Yeah, the film Hollywood is counting on
Hollywood,
you guys at this point.
So Jim said to me, I need to close his account. It's a year in California. So he closed, he's like, you're done October 2021. And I said, fine, no problem. So luckily for the pandemic was slowly kind of easing out a little bit,
Yeah.
and bigger companies were taking over the littlest jobs we were doing.
Yeah.
So I closed the company October, November 2021. And I found myself in one of those kind of midlife crisis situations where my best friend just died. We just went through a pandemic, and it's just like, LA sucked. I mean, my apartment building got broken into 3 times. The homeless encampment burned down under the 101, and the whole area smelled like rubber and burnt hair.
Oh,
So
which it kind of smells like in LA anyway.
anyway,
So
yeah,
I can't
exactly.
imagine how much worse
Yeah.
it would have been.
So I have a business partner. His name's Robert Hansen, and we do a podcast. My podcast is called the R Snake Show. And Robert was my CTO at Human Health Organization. He's one of the top cybersecurity experts in the globe. So Robert said, Chris, why don't you come check out Austin? It's really cool here. You'd like it. So, I'm like, I took a week and I thought, I come to Austin and I would life scout. And I loved it. Robert introduced me to all his friends. I went to the gun range. The range at Austin was my first social interaction. It's kind of like Soul House with guns,
Yeah, that's what I'm like. That's what we do here in Texas. Can you see?
Yeah,
I got it
I see
right here on my monitor.
Yeah. So that was
Very Texas.
That was my introduction to Austin. And I own 4 guns, but I use them for hunting and just shooting. We have a farm in central PA.
Oh,
So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
right. That's where you're from.
I'm from Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yes, y'all. Chris is a northerner, a
Yes,
northeasterner,
I'm a
just like me.
northeaster.
I made the mistake of calling him a Yankee, and he was like, "I'm not a Yankee. I'm from Pennsylvania." And I was
No,
like, "I thought
I said,
everybody from the
hold on.
Northeast."
No, no. I said I'm not a Yankee. I'm a Philly. I don't like the Yankees. The Yankees suck.
See, I was like, I thought everybody from up north was called a Yankee. I thought that was just like a slur for all of
Yeah.
us northerners
Yeah.
from the Texans down here.
Anyway, so that was
You
my
got so they
introduction.
brought you out here.
Yeah.
You said these guys are awesome.
And I moved. I packed up my stuff. I was no longer on a lease. I was doing month to month on rent, and I
Yep.
came to Austin, rented a nice little house, and I lived in South
Nice.
Austin. But when I got here, I got hired to produce this little movie, a little Western film, and
Okay.
the investment group asked me to check out what the tax incentives were for the state. So I went and met with Stephanie.
Oh.
I went and met with Stephanie Whalen, the film commissioner, and
Yep.
she explained to me how bad they are, and they run out of money every
Basically
year, over and over,
non-existent,
non-existent.
essentially. Yeah.
So I said to her, I'm like, well, you know what? I've worked in a lot of states and I've done a lot of tax incentive audits, and I do this stuff. So why don't I write something up for you guys? Maybe we can get a new law passed or something. She laughed. She just laughed at me, saying, "Good luck with that." So over the next 3 months, I started writing a new program for Texas, and
Yep.
yeah, and here's the funny part: it's not, it's nothing like I invented myself. I just took like 7 different states that are doing it really, really well, making a lot of
Yep.
money, and I just took the best of the best, brought it down, and said, "Here you go, Texas."
There you
So
go. And this
I got
is
some, yeah, I got lobbyists to jump on board with me to help me, and we the bill was it got unanimous in the House subcommittee. It was unanimous in the Senate subcommittee. But when it got to the lieutenant governor's office, he put a stop
what?
on it.
Why?
So, well, Dan Patrick said that number one, he wasn't about to replace a program unless there was a very deliberate, very deep study on it. So they're doing an interim study on my bill. Listen, I have to
Okay.
get, it takes a long time for
Fair.
Texas to
That's
change
fair.
anything.
Yeah.
So, but what he did say was, I'll tell you what, we're going to increase the amount of money, because they had $45 million for every 2 years, which ran out
That's
immediately.
nothing. That's
That's
like
nothing.
a couple of productions.
Correct. So, Dan Patrick said we're going to bring that up to 200 million. So that'll help kind of kickstart you guys while we do the interim study for the next session to see if this is where we want to go.
What would be worth it?
You'll have enough money to bring in business and then prove to us that, this will
Yeah.
work. And we took it
Well,
as a win and said, yay.
yay. I mean, that is a win, y'all. So check out, it's Texas Media. Ooh, there we go. Texas Media Coalition. And so here's their website so you can learn more. I just put the link in the chat for everybody to go check out. So Texas Media Coalition. So you are not part of the Texas Film Commission.
No.
You basically started a separate organization to cooperate to try to get the Texas Film Commission to do something, basically.
No, actually, the Texas Film Commission does do something. They administrate.
Okay.
But what we were trying to do is get the government of Texas, the state government, we shine a bright light on a problem that exists here in Texas. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of work here for film and TV. There's independents. They have independents. They have commercials. They have video games. But coming from LA, working in Georgia, working in Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. I mean, I could go. I could name 15 states right now. They're doing better.
Yeah.
I couldn't work here. I couldn't get a job. So I just finished 2 movies in LA. I got a movie I'm going back to Pennsylvania to do, and then I got another movie in Georgia. So I would love to continue living here, but it's a little rough.
Well, and this is one of the interesting questions I would love to get your perspective on, because you mentioned there's independent projects here, and I think a lot of independent filmmakers are actually afraid, because what is it? Disney is building
Mm.
a soundstage, sound studios now. Netflix is building here, and I think a lot of independents are actually afraid of Hollywood coming here.
Wait,
Do you
they're
know if
building here? Tell me where.
it's what is it?
Well,
Dripping
I
Springs?
think I'm Dripping Springs and
Dripping
Bastrop
Springs
there's some
is Stray
studios.
Vista. They have a virtual production stage down there. Yes.
Correct, but
Okay.
like Zachary Levi's here, I don't know what his plan is. I don't know how
Zach,
that works.
we just had an event. I'm on the board of something called AEB, which is All
Oh,
Entertainment Business, and we just
yes.
had a big event at South by with Zachary Levi, and
Hmm.
our organization is working with Zach to he
Okay.
owns 90 acres in Dripping in Bastrop, and what
Okay.
he's trying to do is make his land into like a soundstage community compoundy kind of place where you can work and live and do all that stuff. And we've been helping Zach for a while, but it's been rough. I mean, I have to admit, it's not Texas is not an easy state to get anything pushed forward in. You got to squeeze it very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of that. There's
Hmm.
a studio in San Marcos that they've been talking about building for since I arrived here, but they never stuck a shovel in the dirt yet. So I have no idea what's happening with that.
Oh, interesting.
The only thing I know is that Tommy Warren and Spiderwood Studios out in
Hmm.
Bastrop,
Yes. Yep.
they have been working to try to expand. They've been working to try to do something. So I think Bastrop will actually be the next place that has
Mm.
more work, more attention will be placed to
Hmm.
from various studios and other companies.
So do you
Okay.
think will the tax incentives and the new law, do you think it will separate or differentiate independent from bigger budget films? Do you think there'll be like are you trying or are they trying to make sure that there's a carve out for both so that
Yes,
local folks don't get
we're
pushed
trying.
out?
No, local folks. The whole idea is to get local folks working.
Okay.
So we
I
want
like
the
that.
big movies. We want the TV series because Texas right now, with all the things that were passed in this past legislation,
Hmm.
we they have a 70% requirement to residency requirement. We
Hmm.
lowered it to
Oh.
55 because the problem is that all the studios will bypass Texas. They'll fly right over the state, not even look at us with a 70%. We wanted
Mm.
zero. And the reason we wanted zero is because there are a lot of other states, the very successful states, all are zero residency. Because the
Mm.
idea is that we just want you to come here, spend the money that you have here. We will hire local people. We will always hire local people because that makes more financial sense. And
Mm.
some of the legislators didn't really understand that. They're like, well,
Yeah.
if you're going to make it zero residency, that means you're taking away jobs from locals. I'm like, no, we're
Well, isn't
making
that
more jobs for locals because we're not putting handcuffs on the big companies that want to come and
Mm.
spend their money here.
Here's one thing I will say specifically as a stuntman.
Mm.
I've been on many projects that came from Hollywood, and we were background. We were not the stars, and it's not because there's a lack of talent and skill here,
Mhm.
but they flew in people from out of state to do some of those jobs.
Like
And I'm
Battle
not
Angel Alita,
so look.
Yeah.
some of
I'm
the
not
bigger
gonna. I
projects.
can't say that happens on every project, but I can say there've been some I've been a part of where I've seen that. So it's not an unreasonable fear, but
Mm.
the question is overall, like you're saying, is it a net gain or net loss to Texas actors, filmmakers in
Mm.
general?
Well, my thought, our entire thought process is that we need to get them here first. Okay, they need to
Okay.
come here to see you, both of you, to see the talent we have, and they're not doing that. So we
Yeah.
have to do something. I mean, we're doing Hail
Mm.
Mary passes on all of these different things to
Mhm.
bring them here. Now,
Yeah.
Taylor
Because
Sheridan,
when was oh, sorry. When was
Taylor,
wasn't
okay,
Battle Angel like when was the last big project here?
2017,
It's been a while.
16, 17.
Yeah, Battle
It's been
Angel
a
Alita is the only one I can think of that was
yeah.
really big that was shot here recently.
Well,
So I'm
Taylor
sorry I interrupted
Sheridan,
you.
Taylor Sheridan is the, Paramount's golden boy. I mean, he's doing Yellowstone and all this stuff. So Taylor Sheridan's up in Dallas. He has the Four Sixes Ranch, and he wants to produce a lot more in Texas. So, we also believe that $200 million thing that, Dan Patrick gave us, we think that there was something with Taylor Sheridan involved with that too. But Taylor, I gotta say, Taylor needs to step up, because Taylor's flying in his stunt crew and all his team from Montana, and he's not hiring local Texas folks like he should be.
And I think that is exactly what I think the worry is. Is like, what did I hear? So don't Hollywood my Texas.
Well, here's the thing.
But it's like, but at the same time, you're right. If there are no projects here, if people aren't willing to look, then how do you build the industry?
Well, the interesting part is that the whole reason one of the main reasons Austin Action Fest got started was because we saw that our people were leaving. Like, our most talented stunt guys were leaving the state because there was, like you said, there wasn't enough work. So when these projects did come, I do know there were some instances where our top talent wasn't here. They were in LA, they were in Georgia.
Sure.
So it's like a chicken egg deal. But I'm curious, when you talk to Dan Patrick and all these individuals, because I've been so curious about this, because I talked to the Texas Film Commission when I was at South by Southwest this last year.
Yeah. And we've tried.
Hold on, wait. Just got a question here. What are their pushbacks against matching the incentives some other places?
Ooh,
I understand it. Like,
good question.
Or was it a financial thing? Like, they don't think they're going to make the money back, or because it seems like the math is in the favor of the incentives. So,
good question.
So they, first of all, they currently have something called TMIP, which is it's a grant program, and there's only 3 other states in the country that do cash grants. So when you do a cash grant, you need to pull money from a bucket, from a tax bucket, from some bucket that taxpayers are paying into. So right now, the way they look at it is they get it from the hotel restaurant tax, the rental car tax, tourism tax of sorts. That's where they're pulling the money out of. But my program, the one that we introduced that they're doing the interim study on, is very similar to Georgia and New Mexico, where it's tax incentives, where you spend $10 million, and at the end of your production they audit you. Okay, great, you followed it. Here's your, you get 20% back. So here's a here's a Bed Bath and Beyond coupon for $2 million. So you take your coupon and you go to United Airlines, Southwest, you go to whoever is a large industry player in the state and say, listen, I have a $2 million tax rebate. I'll sell it to you for 1.8. So now whoever you're selling it to is going to save $200,000 on their taxes. Now, who wouldn't want to do that if you're spending that much money?
Correct.
So this is the same program that many of the successful states use, and that's what we're doing. But with Dan Patrick and those guys, they didn't know how it worked. Even though we met with the comptroller, Glenn Hager, Glenn looked at our bill. He saw the tax buckets we were pulling out. It was like the insurance tax. It was the fuel tax. There was taxes where it's not going to affect school programs. It's not going to affect healthcare or roads. We were pulling it out of stuff that hasn't really been touched by the state. So when Glenn Hager looked at our proposal, he was like, yeah, this works. This is easy. We can do this, no problem. And I hired a tax expert. I spent my own money, by the way, hiring a tax expert to tell us how to make this all work. He helped write the bill, and that's kind of where we are.
That is amazing. I love it. And this is really what is required. And I love it. What is it? Robert calls it retail politics. To me, this is like retail politics. The government doesn't know that there's a problem until you tell it that there's a problem. Like,
Correct.
You made this law, or you're doing this thing, or we're trying to do a thing, and you're in the way, or this would make it easier. And so I love hearing stories like this where people are like, I'm just, instead of sitting around complaining about something, I'm going to figure out a solution and I'm going to do something about it. And that's what I love what you said there, Chris, because and this is why I think I resonated so much with the things that you were sharing, because our goal with, for example, Generally Irritable, this channel exists to help facilitate an engaged and informed electorate. The Austin Action Fest exists and market exists to get creatives paid, right? We're out here trying to help our brothers and sisters, the people that we work with, our colleagues and our cohorts, to make sure that they have opportunities. And that is really the difference between somebody who's a producer, or an entrepreneur, and somebody who is just an employee and just will show up. Not, and I don't mean to sound degrading, but that's that brain that you have, Chris, that Benjamin has, is like, how do I pull up everyone else behind me? How do I raise the tide for all of the ships? And I love that. I just love that that's where your heart is for people, and that's what you're trying to do. I think that is so cool. So one of the things we started to talk about at the party last week was artificial intelligence. And that has been the big buzzword in Hollywood the last like 9 months or so, with the writer's strike and the actor's strike. And, then what was it? They came back at the producers, or somebody came back and said, oh, well, in order for us to sign this deal, we have to take 3D scans of you and your face and all this other crazy crap. And I was like,
we've been doing that for years, by the way. They've been doing that for more than 10 years, 15 years.
You mean more than just like the motion capture stuff, or like
Star
regular?
Wars? Have you seen any movie that has visual effects in it? I mean, here's the, that. I mean, the problem with this is that they've been doing that for a long time, and now all of a sudden you're talking about it and you're pissed off about it. Doesn't make sense to me.
So has this been kind of like, has this been an undercurrent for a long time, and somebody like me who's a normie is just hearing about it? Has this conversation been happening for a while?
Not really. I don't think so. I don't think until OpenAI came out with ChatGPT and showed exactly what it's about. Like, with any, again, Star Wars or, Avatar, the first one, or any of these movies, they're wearing the ping pong ball suits. They scan the people anyway. Yeah. That's exactly how we make movies. That's how we make, I did a movie called Dinosaur in 1999, and it was a live action animation project. It was for Disney, where we took, fake dinosaurs and put them in real, we shot real settings with real people, and we put the dinosaurs in the movie. We were doing that then.
Yeah.
So
in the 90s.
I mean, but now because of ChatGPT, OpenAI, now they're showing exactly, how it works. Now everyone's getting pissed off.
I think it's also because I can admit that I can understand for a minute when I saw why people were so upset. Like at South by Southwest, they had AI that would mimic Rihanna's voice. So if you get to the point where you can mimic my voice, my movements, you've already got a 3D scan of my face and my body, I can understand the absolute fear comes with
but that can't even be okay.
Who created? I'm going to tell you who came up with the best technology for that about 15 years ago? Porn. Again, they've been doing that too for years. I mean, whenever you see a new technology come out in our business, most likely porn had something to do with it.
Yeah, because haven't they been doing that thing where they like put a famous person and they like fake a thing and it's the whole thing?
Yeah,
that is terrible.
It's terrible. It's horrible. It's evil. It shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
Okay, but so here's my deal. As a business owner, and as a person who helps other businesses streamline, become more efficient, and all of that stuff, what I don't ever say to any of my clients is you should fire everyone and replace them with a robot or a fake image of a person. You know what I mean? Like, what?
No. Listen. Do you want to? Let's get to it. Let's get to the point. Is all right. So AI in our industry, needs to be seen as a tool. Okay.
Right.
People should not be afraid of it. If you're afraid of
Mm.
it, then you're not going to find the ways to use it properly. You're going to, you're going to bring on more fear. You're going to bring on, and other people that take advantage of others will use that fear against us.
Mm.
And if you lean into it, and this is what I told IATSE and SAG and DGA and WGA. I'm like, guys, don't fight. What you need to do is come up with a solution.
Mm.
You need to have on the board of chat OpenAI. There needs to be
Mm.
an actor. There needs to be a writer. There needs to be a somebody
Some
from our
kind of
industry,
creator.
some creator that needs to be on our industry on the board of each one of these AI companies to kind of help them develop it so it doesn't take away our jobs and we can use it as a tool. Like I see ChatGPT as an amazing research tool when you're writing.
Mm.
So if you're writing a script about maybe an area you're not very familiar with, you go into ChatGPT and say, I want to know about Morocco, or you just Google it. I mean, Google is AI. That's the other
That's
thing people don't understand
that's the
is that,
thing.
you when you Google anything, that's an AI you're talking to. And you've been doing that for 10 years and 15 years now.
Well, and
It's
that's
true.
even as an accountant, right? I have my accounting practice. I literally was just doing a presentation yesterday about QuickBooks, how it has AI and the AI is trying to figure out how to help you. It's just terrible. It's
Yeah.
just absolutely horrible at its job.
Yeah.
But, and that's why I
Listen,
think what you said is
yeah.
so important is because I have yet to read a script or anything written by ChatGPT that doesn't sound stupid or terrible, that doesn't need human intervention to make it normal,
Listen,
right?
there. To be honest, my answer is that you're not going to find anything that's going to replace human creativity. At least not in this century, not in this time. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years, you'll find that. But right now, today, tomorrow, the next 3, 5, maybe even 10 years, you know, no one's going to replace that. I mean, even Battle Angel
Mm.
Alita. I love Jim, and I worked for Cameron for those years. It was kind of hard to watch. I mean, Alita, you knew Alita's fake,
Oh yeah, the
you know,
uncanny valley.
sure, but what I'm talking about is what Cameron did with Avatar. They're all
Mm.
actors. They're actors' voices. They're the real voices. They're the real movements. They're the real all of that stuff. Your AI is not going to be able to mimic that the way
Mm.
real people can do it. So
Yeah.
Jim's doing the right way. He's sort of building it up and he's using it as a tool in order to make the movies he wants to make. And I think a lot of filmmakers can use AI as a tool.
Yeah.
Um, and also, what's interesting, Bruce Willis. Do you know the story of Bruce Willis?
When you say the story, what do you mean?
So Bruce Willis has dementia, or Bruce
Oh
Willis has
yes,
a
he's
deliberate, he can't speak anymore.
yes.
He can't act
Yeah.
anymore. But I heard through many articles, I don't know how true it is, but they scanned him. They scanned Bruce Willis's voices before, everything went terrible for him.
Yeah.
Now you may see Bruce Willis in a couple of movies coming up, even though he's not acting anymore because of what
Got
they
it.
did with him. They scan him. Now there are some actors I hear that are doing that, and I think it's good for historical purposes
Yeah.
because I grew up with Bruce. Bruce is iconic actor to me, so
Yeah.
I would like to know that he's being preserved somehow. Elvis, hell, they're doing movies with Elvis, and now. So this is, I think, how AI can be used in a way that can preserve historical, records of sorts.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like
Mm.
just technology in general, right? So when
Mm.
we edit on, like nonlinear, so we have Final Cut, we have Adobe. Well, there was somebody who was back in the film room cutting film.
That's right.
Hmm.
Those jobs aren't there. The film developers, just for photography,
Oh my
you
gosh,
don't.
yeah.
So these
Think about
people,
how many industries have come and gone or been made highly efficient because of technology.
technology isn't gonna stop. I think
No.
one of the things from an acting perspective or film and all that stuff is being very aware of the contracts that you sign and understand.
Mm.
And this is what we try to talk to people at
Mhm.
Austin Action Fest all
Yeah.
the time. You are a business. You're self-employed. So you can believe that the producers have your best interests at heart, and that's adorable. But it's business, and if you can't do business, there is no show. So you better know how to do the business side and make sure your contracts are written in a way which doesn't allow Activision to have control of your face and body for the next 15 years, because I have
Yeah.
Right,
friends that
but
are
but
in
if
Call of Duty.
yeah, but if they do, then they better pay you for it. Think of it as a
And
residual.
correct. But I think a lot of people, I think one of the concerns I heard was like extras
Oh,
getting
yeah,
skinned in the
basically all.
background and they need to be
Well, Ted
wartime.
Lasso, he's doing that now. They're doing that. They did it with all the stadiums. I mean, they did
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah, bi-central casting. See ya.
Watch Ted Lasso very carefully on a 4K TV, and you're going to see what the backgrounds are digital and what the backgrounds are real.
That's wild. And here's the thing is there we can sit here and talk a bunch of smack all we want, but the reality is also that the movie industry is changing. And
Hmm.
that started long before COVID. And
Mhm.
it's funny to me when I hear people talk sometimes and they're like, COVID is the only thing that ruined everything. And I'm like, nah, bro.
Mm,
Long before that, I was reading articles about how viewership, basically Netflix and streaming really again talking about technology changing things, right? So
sure.
we now have streaming,
Yeah.
and so people were not going to the movies to see the dramas, to see the comedies. So unless it was a big budget action, Marvel movie, people weren't going to the theater in the same way that they were. And so you were already hearing production companies talk about, how do we keep a budget? How do we make movies now if we're not doing these big theatrical releases? And so it's almost like this has been coming long before, the virus of unknown origins.
Well,
Um
Chris knows, when the DVD market and the VHS market went away, that was a big hit. That was guaranteed money. You could
yeah.
be in every blockbuster. And so people had to change their distribution models and start to adjust. And I think Hollywood now is seeing that our industry's been a bit bloated. And we've been able to get away with foreign
Mm.
money. And we had these avenues that were guaranteed you were just going to watch the movie. And you just mentioned, watch it on a 4K television. I got a little home studio. I don't need to go to the movies to spend $70 to watch a
On
movie
tickets and
that might
popcorn.
be good.
It's an
Plus,
event. It's events. Dune 2. I want to go see Dune 2, and the only
you
way I'm going to
have
see
to.
that is IMAX and
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
big as I can get.
Yeah, but if it's the new Amy Poehler movie, I don't need to spend $18 on a movie ticket for that. I can stream it.
I would
And
like you to, but I get it.
but and that's, now we're moviegoers, right? So Benjamin and I are gonna go to the movies when we
I'm a
want to
Parks
see a
and
movie.
Recs fan, and I'm still
And
not going.
yeah, and no, but we're the kind of people who are gonna go to the movies. But the majority, like the average American who just wants to be entertained and doesn't care, they're not thinking about the experience or the creators and how to have they just want to be entertained. They don't care.
Yep. Yeah. No, I get it.
Um,
I get it.
so I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about this, so you've actually had the interesting experience that you've gotten to watch all of these changes.
Hmm.
So why, okay, now I'm even more, so why is Hollywood, if I know this as kind of a layperson, right? I'm into movies, but I haven't been producing movies for years or doing any of that stuff. Why it almost seems like Hollywood is reactionary or reactive rather than proactive. Like, you see it's coming, you see the technology coming. Why does it seem like they're kind of like late? Do you think it's just the fear? Like,
I don't
what do
think
you
they
think
want
that
to. I don't
is?
think they want to accept the reality of the changing business. Sometimes,
Mm,
if it's not broken, don't fix it. But the
mm,
problem is, as the time goes by and new technologies get introduced, then we start to realize there are better ways to do it. I mean, like
Mm,
you said, we used 35 millimeter film, and they were editing film and cutting film. We don't need to do that anymore. There was a time when I was in a room with Jim Cameron, and Jim's like, I'm never using, I'm not going digital, and we're using 35 millimeter. And then when Jim realized how much better digital producing was, and more, he could do more with it
right.
than he
Mhm.
could do with film. He kind of leaned into it and said, okay, listen, I see the value of it. And this is where, Hollywood needs to see the value of it. So when they see the
Mm,
value of it, then we'll start figuring out how to make it work for what we're doing. But it
yeah.
takes time, and unfortunately, there's a old regime that needs to come out, and the younger, more open-minded people need to take over and
Hmm.
try to bring in the new technology. And like I said, use it as a tool. What's the positive nature of using all of AI? There
Yeah.
are negatives, obviously, but again, we have to work through that as a society to figure out what's going to work for us. I mean, listen, when the steam engine and cars were created, people that had horse ranches were pissed off because they thought, well, there's no better transportation than a horse, you
Yeah.
know. So we're in
Yep.
the same, I mean, it's a very different time, but same
No,
idea.
but it's the same thing. Anytime you have a new technology, I mean, shoot, think about it. Even a wheel, the wheel was
But
technology at one point.
even outside of the tech part, because I'm thinking about what you're saying. So a jump cut, right? That's a
Mm,
mistake coming when you're talking about film editing. Anybody who doesn't know film, like if you ever move the camera 30 degrees from the two cuts, it doesn't work right. The problem is when you watch YouTubers online to cut out all that additional dead space, the editing is done with jump cuts.
mm,
So now it's a style choice. And if you look at Hollywood going digital, for instance, now there more people have access to high-end cameras. There's more competition. So if I'm Hollywood and I've got all these barriers to entry, the price of film, cost, production crews, whatever, and I'm seeing an AI, if it's used by people like me who are more independent, smaller budget side, to make up some of those gaps, I could understand
mm.
some of the fear to utilizing these technologies and these techniques because it makes that field a little more smaller, a little
Hmm.
more
So
manageable.
let me so I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I want to talk about this
Yeah.
documentary that I have. It's
Oh,
about a young
yes.
25-year-old girl from Austin, Texas, who found herself in Ukraine when the Russians invaded, and she's of Ukrainian descent. She was just going back to find her roots. The documentary is called Why We Went, and she ended up staying in Ukraine, got embedded with a battalion. She was photographing and interviewing all the soldiers as they were coming in, coming out. They gave her a gun because they said, "Listen, when we're under fire, you're going to be pointing and shooting, not your camera, that gun."
Yep.
So, she, her name's Ashley Matowski, and she's still there. She's in Kyiv right now. We're trying to get her home.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking to a bunch of organizations to for funding for the documentary. I have 2 hard drives full of her material that I've been reviewing. It's amazing footage. And there are some interviews that she was doing with some of the soldiers that were crackly. They were,
Mm.
the audio may not be the best. You can hear them, but it's staticky, it's crackly. There was a gunfight going on outside, so you could hear the gun, while she's doing interviewing one of the soldiers. So, playing into the AI conversation, I'm talking to a post house that uses AI software to fix the audio problems. Now, you were saying about, Rihanna, we can create Rihanna's voice. And hopefully they don't do that for, for negative purposes or to try to steal something from her as an artist. But for me, when I do these documentaries that are real life, in the grit, in the dirt, um, as long as I have about 20 to 30 seconds of the guy's voice, then we can fix all of the audio
Mm.
snaps and crackles and pops and all the things that were
Wow.
going on, by duplicating his voice, but it's the same words. It's just making it better to hear and
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
And we're going to do that same situation with the video, because we have video that's really shaky. We have video that there was one shot where Ashley's filming, and then a bomb went off right in front of them and literally sent her flying, and the camera, it was like a crane. You could see the camera flying through the air. It's unbelievable. But there's a lot of post things that I need to fix in this documentary to make it for the big screen, and AI is going to help me do that.
Oh,
Well,
And we're
and
using
that's
it as a tool.
and
that's
that's it, I think that's something. Wow, I just got goosebumps. That's interesting. I think that's so important that you brought that up, Chris, because it is so easy for us to get caught up in the fear, especially these days. I feel like so much of the time, the news media, it does not matter who you're listening to, okay? Both sides, I feel like they're trying to make us afraid. They're trying to make us afraid of each other. And there's so much of an environment of fear. And so we're afraid of everything. And what I just heard you say is that this thing that everyone is afraid of, you're actually going to be able to use it to tell a really important story that needs to be told that you might not be able to do otherwise without it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And or at least because and you guys may think I'm being dramatic, but as filmmakers, as people who create content and make film, sound is one of the most important aspects of anything that you produce. If it is crackly, if it is weird, if it
Mm,
sounds funky, people will tune out, they'll turn it off, and they won't listen. Um, Audio is actually it really is one of the most important pieces of a project. And so just the fact that you'll be able to take that footage and make something out of it meaningful.
mm.
And I think, why don't you tell folks a little bit more about the project? You said, what was it called again?
Why We Went.
Why We Went. And so this is a really, this is an on the ground telling of what is going on there. When our media, when we know that the information we're getting is filtered, it's filtered through these media organizations, probably filtered through the government, even, what they want us to know. Um, Having a essentially a journalist, like a war correspondent on the ground, being able to tell the story. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so important. So, okay, why we went. So tell everybody, like you said, it's not out yet.
Oh
What
no,
do you need for it?
we're fundraising.
Okay.
It costs money to hire editors, to pay the post house, to do all of that. We
Yeah.
have two full hard drives. I also need to get Ashley home. She's in Kyiv. She
Mm,
ran out of money. Her parents have given her everything that they can get her. We're talking to the embassy about getting her a flight out so she can get out of there. She's
and
on the Russians' top 100 hit list right now to kill. I mean, because now they know who she is, and now they know what she's doing. And she was able to sneak two hard drives out, get them to me, so I have them. And I'm talking to various news organizations, trying to work with them on some type of partnership organization deal where we can make this documentary happen. Um, so
so can
that's where
she,
we
this
are.
is a stupid question. I'm recognizing this is a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You can't just get on a plane home? Like, are there no
No,
flights going out of Ukraine? Is that a
there
really
are
stupid question?
there are flights in and out, but the problem, this may sound a little funny, but I mean, she has no money. Her credit cards are tapped out, and what we're trying to
Mm,
do is work with an organization that can basically get her on a plane, that have the embassy pick up the tab and just pay for the ticket and get
yeah,
her out of the Ukraine.
especially if she's on a hit list. I'm like, that would be a reason why not to get on a regular commercial airline.
Well,
Alexei
politics it,
Navalny learned that lesson.
yeah. Well, it's all about politics too, and you have to go through certain channels you're working with the State Department, working with the embassy.
Mm, mm,
Um, I
Makes
she I
sense.
don't think she's in danger, but I'm not there, so I don't know. I mean, I know she's
Yeah.
staying with a couple of the soldier friends that she made, and they're just living life in Kiev until she can work out a plan to get out of the country.
Wow.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
when she
So
gets
any
out, she'll come here.
Yeah, and y'all watching, we know some folks, we have some viewers and friends of the channel that have planes, have pilot licenses. You
It's
guys
not
know
it's not
people.
about it's just about doing it through the proper channels. And
Yeah.
also, you know, I told her she's still there filming. We're actually I'm talking to
Mm.
some Washington DC folks about trying to get her an interview with Zelensky, because I really, if I had an ask, it would be in the next week, or she wants to try to get out by next week if possible. But if it's in the
Yeah.
next week, I want her to have an interview with President Zelensky, because
Wow.
for the documentary, we have over 25 interviews with foreign soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers. Unfortunately, half of them have already died. They already got killed during the war. But we have their interviews, and we have their permission, and we have all of that stuff
Okay.
for this documentary. And that's what we want to show people, is like, listen, they're not Nazis. They're Putin is using propaganda for that part of it. So they're real people, and some of them are like from the US, some of them from France, Canada, Germany, Poland. I mean, the
Mm.
world is over there fighting for
Yeah.
this.
Wow. Okay. So this is super important, you guys. So where can they now? Hold on. I'm going to share. Let's see. We've got your website. We've got
That's my personal one.
Chris Debec's website. We've got civilizedentertainment.com.
Go to home
Where
for
is the best?
Civilized.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So when you go to Civilized Entertainment, you'll see these are the images I shot, with my camera from all the productions I've worked on over the last,
Oh,
30 years. Uh,
Cool.
I I was on an aircraft carrier. I did a whole piece for Good Morning America. Rob Marciano and I were on an aircraft
okay.
carrier. I moved the space shuttle through the streets of Los Angeles. I worked with the crew that did that. That's what's behind me.
What?
Yeah, I worked with
Oh,
a production
cool.
company. This is a movie called The Green Knight, and those are the
So
Oh,
Jim
where
yeah.
Camerons.
Seen that.
where should people go if they want to help with why we went, if they want to learn more, if they want to donate, they want to get involved? What is the best way to contact you?
I have a LinkedIn page. So it would just
Oh,
be my Chris Debeck LinkedIn page is a good place. Civilized Entertainment, you can go to the website and send me an email through that. Um, Texas Media Coalition has a website. You can go through that.
yep. Oh,
I
yep.
have
I have.
multiple ways that you can reach me. Plus, if you look at IMDb, I think it has my email address on IMDb. So
Yes, that's so there is tons of stuff. Oh, I closed the other website. Oh, and then you're on LinkedIn. So you
yeah,
guys, you
yeah,
can find him everywhere. We got links to his websites in the description. And in the comments. So definitely go check it out. I would love to see the Ukraine documentary. I think that sounds really interesting. My thing is always, um, I think the way you said it was that AI can be used as a tool. It's a starting point. And just like the news nowadays, it can be a starting point so that you can hear things. But I would much rather go to a documentary, a book, somebody's firsthand experience on any given
Mm.
situation or matter, because that's where you're more likely to find uh, the middle of the truth. Do you know what I mean? You're more likely to find real human beings sharing their story, and so that's what we like to see. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your experience and your insights. It's been super fun to talk to you. I loved talking to you at the South by Southwest event. You guys, Chris is just really cool. I didn't tell you all the crazy stuff we talked about at the Sapien Center, but he's just a really cool guy. And so if you get an opportunity to work with him, I highly recommend it. This is a professional who really cares. He cares about the industry. He cares about you, and he cares about the creative process. Thank you, Steve. Steven says thank you. Um, yeah, Jerry, I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. You are absolutely correct. And so, y'all, again, generally irritable, we exist to help facilitate an engaged and informed electorate. We don't care what your politics are as long as you are involved. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel and help us fight the evil social media overlords.
And we just got banned.
And cut. All right, y'all. Hang on with us just 1 second, and we'll see you next Tuesday.